Hello, I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley.
And I'm her daughter, Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Heidi and I want to welcome you to Open to Hope Conversations, the podcast.
We believe that the greatest gift you can give yourself after a loss is hope, using this moment to connect with others who have not only survived but thrived.
So let's get started. Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Well, Heidi, we've got a fabulous guest on with a fabulous organization, TAPS.
Bonnie Carroll is absolutely amazing. She founded TAPS in 1994, and she is no stranger to grief and loss because her husband, Brigadier General Tom Carroll, died in an Army plane crash in 1992, along with 7 other soldiers. In 2015, she was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and she has touched so many lives and is doing so many things right now in this time of anxiety that we have in this country. Welcome to the show, Bonnie.
Thank you so much, Heidi and Gloria. It's an honor to be with you today. TAPS is the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. It's the national organization for all those grieving the death of a military loved one. And we've really expanded our mission now to include those who are grieving the loss of a loved one in service to our country and in defense of freedom. So that could include, for example, we're working with the families of the firefighters who were lost in Australia or others, and now working, of course, in response to the tragedy our nation is experiencing and the world is going through with battling the virus.
How is that impacting military families right now?
For many of our military families, they are really our first responders. They're on the front lines. They are the ones now. The National Guard is being mobilized and they're being called out, and yet their families are being told to shelter in place. So for military families that had planned maybe moving to new duty assignments, all of that has been put on hold. The equipment may or may not be there for our military. I don't know if you've seen any of the pictures in the news, but often you see, the hazmat suits on the civilian medical professionals, and then you see the National Guard with a little kind of, face mask, if that. So, our military really has been asked in this time of national crisis to step forward and serve, and they're doing it. But they're doing it at great personal risk to themselves and their families.
Bonnie, I wanted to comment on something else too and ask you about it. You work with people who've had a loss, and there are, a couple of weeks ago, a couple of Americans were killed in Afghanistan, right? Yes. So there are current losses of military people on active duty and those families. How are you supporting them now? It's got to be really difficult because they can't gather, trying to work out all the logistics of family members and what's coming up with that.
Right. That's an excellent question, Gloria, because it has changed how we can gather. We do our big regional survivor seminars where hundreds of people come together, and we actually had to switch the one for last weekend in Colorado to a virtual meeting. Every day at 2:00, we've started our TAPS Talks, which are hour-long sessions to bring our whole community together with different topics about coping with stress, with loss, with how do we eat in a healthy way, and what foods will boost immunity, and what things that we can do at home. So it's a way not only to give information, but it's also a way for people to feel connected and not so isolated. Those who are grieving so often feel alone in the world. You already feel as though you have a new normal that you're trying to adjust to, and now the entire world has become a new normal.
Do you think that I don't know. I remember when my son was killed, I'm like, how come the world doesn't know about this? What's going on? And now it really gets minimized because the world's all worried about themselves in a lot of ways and worried about their own family. And here you are maybe grieving a recent loss.
Exactly. It's like that Auden poem, Stop All the Bells, and that we really now the world has stopped. It's what we feel in our grief that things have changed forever. And And yet now all the restaurants are closed and the schools are now closing, businesses. It's just a very, very challenging time. But for those who are grieving, it's surreal.
Tell us about the things that you're offering your community.
Well, Heather Stang's presentation on mindfulness last week was really spectacular. I mean, she did an entire session, and the feedback we got from families was that it was the first time they really could take a break and breathe and just calm their mind and step away from all the 24-hour news cycles and all the, the what's just so frightening, and just be at peace. And if we can do that for our families, if we can give them tips to step away, to be healthy, to breathe fresh air, to, eat good foods, do what they can do during this time and know that they're not alone. I think that's absolutely the best that we can do for them right now. If you go to taps.org/institute, you can watch her whole archive. Everything is free. It's right there, and you can watch it at your own leisure. And it's a wonderful session. She does an actual meditation session. So just in that hour, it's a great gift to give yourself.
Now, have you heard from families? Are people getting triggered by all these issues that are coming up?
Oh, if families are feeling desperate, they're feeling isolated. For families, now who already felt alone, it's just exacerbated the situation terribly. And, for our families who are military widows struggling to raise kids on their own, we heard from one this morning, an Army widow with 5 kids who was laid off her job.
Oh, wow.
And it's, everybody's going through difficult times, and so many people are having employment and financial issues. TAPS has 4 core services, and the first of those is peer-based emotional support. It's getting together with others who just understand grief and loss and really what we're feeling in our hearts. I always say grief is not a mental illness. It's not a physical injury. Grief is about love. And so what we are feeling is that broken heart beating inside our chests. If we can come together with others who understand, it's the best medicine to really move us forward. So what TAPS can do to get people together physically are camps and seminars and retreats and empowerment programs and expeditions and all sorts of wonderful ways. We have TAPS togethers and care groups and coffee hours, but we've taken all of that virtually now for the next couple of, months. I was going to say weeks. Right. And we've created all of these online virtual opportunities for families to, just like this in Zoom, see each other's faces, to know that, wow, even though we're all isolated, we're still connected.
What's amazing to me about TAPS and you being virtual is you have families all over the world.
We also have it's a portal in our headquarters that's a new technology. One entire wall is a screen that has cameras in front and behind. So it really brings people around the world into the same room. And for example, the other day we had a session with trauma counselors in Gaza doing grief work. And we asked them, where do you go to kind of just let the stress out? Who do you see to find support? And they just burst out crying. And they said, we don't have that. So we brought in our trauma folks and started having these. Now we've done 3 of these sessions with our folks kind of being their sounding board, being, their debriefers. And we started that now in Nigeria with those who are on the front lines of dealing with Boko Haram. And if we can bring the world a little closer to let folks know that they're not alone and we can be together, I think it helps tremendously. And even right now, talking about the virus around the world, and just let folks know that everyone is in this together, and it's almost bringing the world a little closer.
Give us a couple of tips that you have for people who are feeling really stressed after loss right now.
Well, of course, don't get addicted to the 24-hour news cycles. To really reconnect with your spirituality, with your sports, with your, what to be the right things to eat, the right things to do. Try to get enough sleep, which I know is hard with all of the things that are chattering at us. But to just take care. stay hydrated. It sounds so simple, but we tend just not to drink enough water, not to get enough sleep. And those simple things can do so much, not only for our immunity, but also for our sanity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, Bonnie, Carroll, thank you so much for being on the show today. You're an amazing person, and TAPS is such a great organization. So many people.
Thank you so much. You're an angel on this earth. My heart, as a military mom, my heart goes out to all military families. We will get through this. We've all faced great adversity, and we will not do it alone. We'll do it together. So thank you so much, Bonnie.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thanks everybody for being with us today. And Heidi and I and Bonnie want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own.
I'm Dr. Heidi Horsley. You have been listening to Open to Hope, the podcast. You can follow Open to Hope on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. To learn more, visit us at opentohope.com and go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe.
I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley. Join us again next week for another Open to Hope conversation, where we invite you to lean on our hope until you find your own.